Well, good morning everyone, and indeed it is a good morning. I was just walking my normal morning dog walk, and towards the north part of our property we were coming out into an open area, and I noticed this little fellow sitting there just 10 feet away from us. So proud and happy he seemed. Anyhow, I was quite excited to see it. In case you don't know, that's a northern saw-whet owl, and I don't believe I've ever seen one on the property. I've heard them calling once or twice, but I don't believe I've ever seen one, so I was quite surprised to see it out there sitting in broad daylight on top of this common mullein plant. Just out doing my normal morning dog walk, and I was just at the back of the pit this morning, and I look behind me and there's this little saw-whet owl sitting on top of this mullein. So cute. Right out in daylight. I don't know if that means he's really hungry and isn't staying hidden for that reason, but what a cutie. Saw-whet owl. Just gazing around its surroundings and looking down at the ground for food. That was quite exciting. So I took out my phone and began to take as many pictures as I could, as quickly as I could, and try to make them as good as I could. But with a phone, as you probably know, it's difficult to get good pictures of small objects at a distance. It always wants to focus on the background, or the lighting is wrong. So I managed these photos with the phone after a few minutes, and then I decided to head back to the house, which we were doing anyhow, and I grabbed my better photographic camera and lens and came back. As I expected, he was no longer sitting on the mullein, but after a little thought I looked around, and sure enough I found him sitting in a pine tree. So I was lucky enough to get a few more pictures with my better camera. So these are those pictures, and I hope you enjoy them. The saw-whet owl, the northern saw-whet owl, is our smallest owl in Ontario, and it feeds on mice and small birds occasionally, and they're rarely seen. People in this area typically go down to Amherst Island or Wolf Island to look for these owls, where they're sometimes seen roosting in a bit more of a concentration. The main other way you're going to notice them is when they're calling in the spring, typically, or maybe at other seasons as well, but often in the spring they'll be calling. And they're named because their call sounds like someone whetting a saw or sharpening a saw of the old days. That's why it's called Saw-whet owl. Anyhow, hope you've enjoyed this little presentation. I figure I better do a little documentation of this event, which is quite rare.